Not sure which one's going to work out best as far as videos. So I'm making not an unboxing video. Each one of these has had 2,000 pellets put through them, various temperature conditions, various field conditions. I've got my notes here. I apologize because I don't want to miss anything, because it's been a long time working through all these pistols from SIG. So we have the right here, we have the P226, which was one of their first real feel pistols that came out. That is the M17, or also known as the P320. I call it the P320. And we have the X5 here as well, real heavy pistol. So I've gone through all these. So we're going to look at my notes here. One of the interesting things, give me a second here, guys. I got to fix my notes up here. I want to make sure that these are in the correct order. Okay, that's one of the last pages somehow. Okay. Sorry about that. We'll continue. Black Scout Survival recently made a video. I'm talking like only 3-4 days ago, touting how important it is to train with airsoft pistols, which is the Baba Yaga that I have here. Just purchased, did not put 1,000 rounds through that yet. That's only had a couple hundred rounds, but we're definitely going to be working on that. But these ones here have all had the run through. I'm going to be testing this one later on. I digress there. Black Scout Survival says it's important to do this. All of a sudden, this is an important way to do things because we're short on ammo now. Like real ammo is hard to get and it's starting to get super expensive. So now they're looking at airsoft options and pellet options for training. Duh, I've been preaching this for like 3 years, and now all of a sudden it's the big thing to do. So I just wanted to mention that since I follow Black Scout Survival quite regularly. These are all CO2 pistols. I carry these pretty much all the time. Oh, I should actually crouch down a little bit, I guess, here. I don't know if, yeah. So I carry these pistols pretty much all the time or on a regular basis. I'm carrying a pistol around for rodent control mostly, but notwithstanding, of course, I do a lot of target shooting, paper circles to gongs and stuff like that. So these have really been put through the run through, but these are really the star of the show, not me. So we'll start with the going to go through them, through their generations. PP26. This version uses like a double rotary magazine, which is probably the most efficient out of all three. The reason I say that is these are cheap to purchase. They are easy to find at like Cabela's or any of the outdoor stores, and easy to order online. This magazine here cannot get a replacement magazine or a second one. As realistic as it looks and is to feel, you can't get a second one. This magazine from the X5, same problem. Not realistic in real feel at all, but and also hard to find. And has some others downfalls too, that we'll get into a little bit later. Obviously, this isn't a realistic magazine change either, not like it would be with this, or like with the airsoft pistol here, where this is a actual real feel of a magazine when you're carrying it. It's a real feel. This pistol is loaded from the back. You put the CO2 in with a little bit of oil on there, and you close it up. It's very quick. The 3rd generation pistol I have here, they did the same thing. I'm real glad that they did that, because that's quick. This is also set up with a real quick system where the magazine, how terrible. The CO2 goes in there with a little bit of oil, you close it up, it's really quick. But again, you only get one magazine. The other thing is, every time you take this in and out, you lose a little bit of air. Now, in my testing, it didn't make a big difference. I get 60 BB or 60 pellets or BBs out of one of these air before it starts dropping off in the kickback, and when it starts dropping off in some kind of making it to the target accuracy. This one's the same, 60, that one 80. Obviously, because it's not working as hard to turn the belt on these. These are belt fed. Okay, so this one's belt fed 20. Used to be 30 on one of their guns that they made, but that's a 20 round belt. This is a 20 round belt as well in this, but it takes air to turn that, so you lose a little bit of that opposed to what you get here with you know, BBs and just the small rotary being turned by the blowback mechanisms. Moving along. In all of these, I tried a huge variety of ammo. You'll see I got round tip Crossman here, Crossman Destroyer, specialty camo, specialty hunting pellet, and a hollow point. I also had SIG ammo, which I cannot get anymore, and I did try in all of these pistols, but I only had like 2 tins of 250, and then they became difficult to get, just as difficult as getting one of these magazines replaced, which we'll get to a little bit later. So I did put the full gamut, and of course the standard, you know, copperhead BBs, which are the cheapest ammo ever in the world, right? So for the 226, I found that the Gammo Tomahawk, which I failed to bring down with me, was the best going into here. So you have the Gammo Tomahawk, sort of the flat head on the Destroyer. The wad cutters did not work well in here, the standard wad cutters. The angle this goes in, the tip of the pellet seemed to interfere with the rotation, and it didn't work well. I had the same problem with this magazine. The tip from the pointed wad cutter magazine interferes with the angle at which this is you know, set inside the mechanisms at the top, and the tip always seemed to get caught. So we went to the rounded tip for some of these, so, but very finicky. So this one here, the Gammo, a hollow point, the rounded tip, and standard BB, we're all went through this well and didn't have too much issue. The downside to this pistol, your P226, and this X5, is that you have to knock out this tiny little pin right here. On this one as well, same thing. Tiny little pin on the front, right there, to be able to clean and get into the barrel. The other option is to use the cutoff head of a Q-tip, and I mean the Q-tip brand. When I'm talking about the Q-tip that goes into the barrel, you can just cut a Q-tip head off, the Q-tip brand, not the dollar store brand, and you jam it down in there and you shoot it out with your leftover CO2, and you can do that a few times, and that does a little bit of a cleaning. But I prefer to have the barrels off when I'm cleaning and be able to look through and be able to clean. On your P22, or excuse me, on the 320, that was the one upside that they did, is they made it field strippable and easy to clean, and we'll get into that in a second. Moving on to the next page. I've seen videos, I've seen some videos on YouTube where they're doing modifications by adding tape to stabilize the barrel and adding seal to the CO2. I don't think that's necessary. None of these pistols you're training with are for the purpose of accuracy to, you know, like dime-sized circles. You're just trying to hit a chest or a face, you know, at a distance, or a gong. They don't have to be super accurate. It's not necessary to do that. There was a lot of play in the barrel. I'll agree with that. And it did, you know, it didn't shoot any kind of dime-sized shooting, you know. But for repetitive muscle memory training, it was fine. You know, no issues for using it for that purpose or various drills. Oh, before I go on, if you can remember, like, subscribe, share the video. I appreciate that kind of thing. I'm hoping in the future, nudge, nudge, that some of the pistol manufacturers in Airsoft and maybe some in Air Pellet will start sending me some pistols to review. You know, I want to do good, honest videos. I want to put each item, whether it's a rifle or a pellet or a pistol, airsoft pistol, through the rigmarole. I don't want to do cheesy videos out of the box that haven't been fired and worked over in good conditions and cold and dirt and so on and so forth. I'm going to go through, oh, sorry. Oops, wrong one. Not doing a very good job, reading my notes. I told you I got 60 pellets or so before the blowback starts dropping off. Mag release buttons. As you can see on these, this is somewhat flush, but this one here is exposed. That one's semi-flush, semi-exposed. In carrying these, I lost magazines in all of them because these aren't flush. You have these, you do a little bit of a run, or you're climbing in and out of a tractor, you're climbing in and out of a vehicle, you accidentally press that and you have a magazine on the ground. I lost this one for months and I finally found it. Still had air in it. It had been in the mud, in the dirt for close to 3 months. Took it out, washed it, took the air out of it. It didn't have any air left in it, but it did not damage the piece here, which was ironic because the first one I had to send back to empty Charleston, and I'll get back into that in a little bit later on when I go over the P320. Q-tip. So yeah, we are going under the 320 now that I'm looking at my notes. The safety, I like where they moved it. Here, it's a lot easier to reach with your finger. Here, it's a little bit, you almost got to cock the gun to the side a little bit to get it on and off. And it's not ambi. This one's ambi. This one's an ambidextrous. They did, and this is beefy with gloves. This is a nice one with gloves, real easy. They got a little cutout here, so you got more room inside here for gloves. I like this one when it was training time. And I like having the air here. It's shitty having to reload this every 20, but it is what it is. I talked about the magazine losing air in and out. It doesn't really affect it. You still get 60 shots whether you take this in and out 4 or 5 times. It doesn't give you 70 if you are quick about it, or you try and it did make a difference. This first one I got came with it. I had a leak here, and I wanted a replacement. I ended up having to send the whole thing in to MD Charleston in Toronto. They took it, and I don't know if they fixed it or just sent it back to me, another one, but it got sorted out. It just unfortunately took a lot longer, doing the politicking to do it. I really like this grip. It feels good with gloves on. And it's easy to handle. This became the one that I carried the most. I also like the easy takeoff here. Slide it forward. This lever here crosses over. So you got this lever here that crosses over right here. It allows you to take the slide right off. Then you have a button on the top. You push down. That actually allows you to take the barrel out and clean it. And then you can get in here, with a little bit of a Q-tip, rub it down, get some of the dirt from around the blowback. You can even take a little bit of lubricant, the silicone, 100% silicone. I'll just rub a little bit inside here after I clean. Rub a little bit on the spot here where there's with wear. So very light rub with the silicone. Yeah, I said I don't like where the air placement is. I've got that written here a few times. I really like this option here. In, out, real quick. You don't lose any air going in and out. And I did get, closer to 70, 80 with that, using BBs, not pellets. Oh, the ammo is finicky on this one as well. Because of the belt drive, you're looking at using, ironically, the wad cutters worked well in here, which is good because I guess it's the way the magazine is fed into here and the way that the magazine sits in here. The point on the wad cutters did not affect it at all. BBs worked fine. Round tip worked fine. I wouldn't say that there was any ammo here that didn't work well in it. But when it comes to the money part of it, the wad cutters are your cheapest ammo. So if you're blowing off a whole bunch of them to practice, it's nice to be blowing off ones that are cheap or inexpensive. I shouldn't say go as far as say cheap. I'd say inexpensive. And at the lower end of the spectrum, anybody that understands pellets knows that stuff like this, like the Gamo, you know, the X-Hunt that I use in my Stooger, the quality's a lot better on them. They go through the tolerances of the pellet so that you're getting a much more accurate tolerance on each pellet, where the wad cutters, they tend to just, you know, a thousandth of an inch here or there, and it goes in with the box. And that will affect what feeds through the belt. You'll find that like one of the wad cutter pellets that might be tight will stay inside the belt as you go through it. So again, is what it is, right? If you want to spend the money on the Sig Sauer and work hard on it, absolutely, they work better. You don't have any sticking inside the belt, and you know, it gives you that a little bit better performance. Back to the X5. Okay, we're going now to the X5. X5 is a real steel deal. It's heaviest one that I own. It's the longest one that I own. I don't know the exact specs on it. I don't do that kind of stuff. I take it out in the field and I use the shit. I'll tell you how it works, how it feels, what doesn't work in it. I'm not super, oh, this one's this many centimeters and that one's this many centimeters. I think that they would consider this like a subcompact pistol. You know, this one here is a full-size pistol. The John Wick is based on the 911, right, with a lot of bling bling added to it. But this is aluminum with a polymer, right? I could feel the difference in the weight. This thing here, heavy. This thing here, not so much. So, I like it because it's good for repetitive training. You're putting out 60, 120, you know, I don't know. Sometimes I blow off like 500 pellets in a pistol. Man, the arms and the wrist and the hand really feel it when I use this thing for the entire session. I like this quick insertion of the CO2. We talked about that before. You know, like the P226. It has that in and out real quick. But again, these are hard to find. You know? So, these are this is belt fed just the same as the 320. I don't know if I open it up to show this camera. This is the 320. Let's see that. Okay. It's a belt fed system. Takes air to do it, so you lose a little bit. Unlike this one here, which doesn't take much air to turn these. So. I like the fact that they kept the 20 round belt, because the 30 round belt took up a lot of air and it got jammed up. The 20 round belt works really smooth on the guns. I got good kickback power in this using CO2. I gotta say that it has way more of a realistic bang in your hand. This one not so much. That one has a good kick. That was the first one they had. So first one I had was like, wow, that's kick, right? Then you get to that, it was like, wow, that's even more kick. The X5. So which one's the winner? Well, I'd say I have kind of two winners. The P320 became my regular carry. And why it became my regular carry, the M17 P320, why it did, is just the way it is right now. You know, there's an extra added chore to regular training, where you're cleaning your stuff and setting up the toolbox and getting the correct driver out, knocking the pin out, putting it all back together, lining it up. It was just so much easier with the P320 to bang, 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 barrels out, wham, couple of dabs through there. with a real light oil. Please, people, don't use gun oil on your pellet barrels, and definitely don't use gun oil on your airsoft barrels. Airsoft barrels use a really 100% silicone, or use straight up isopropanol a couple runs through. Make sure that you turn your hop up down so that it's clear to go through the barrel and you don't damage your hop up. Same with the pellet pistols. There's a crown. I'm not able to take that one apart, but there's a crown. Oh, here, hang on. Just pushing the pin here. Okay, and that barrel's gonna come out. So I wasn't able to film that because of, you know, shitty film crew here. Just push the pin on top, the barrel comes out. Okay, there's a crown on every pellet setup where it fits in. The pellet fits in at every round, and it's slightly smaller than your barrel. So even here, you got to make sure you have the right size cotton dab as you're pushing that through there, and don't jam it hard, because you don't want to expand that, because then your pellets don't sit in there quite as well. So a little extra knowledge there. So yeah, the P320 became my daily. This became the trainer. If I wanted to go out and run around shooting gongs and shooting the can, which is a real basic exercise that I do, where I literally just throw a couple cans in the driveway, bing, 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 and I have to shoot it down the driveway. Every distance is different, and you know, it changes it up from paper circles. So I liked using that one for training a lot. Even a little bit of carrying it around, but it feels like carrying a big rock, you know. This one here was a lot easier to carry around. So okay, like and subscribe and share, and I'll try and see if I can merge both these videos together, or just post them separately. Thanks.